welcome back to Thunderquack Perfect 10, the podcast where we explore the pop culture masterpieces we love. I'm your host, Michael Cohen. You might be asking yourself, what exactly is a perfect 10? Simply put, a perfect 10 is a piece of pop culture media we love unconditionally. This isn't about review scores, it's about pure joy, because everything around here is a 10 out of 10 to us. Don't give up your day job because we're talking about one of the most underrated action films of all time, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero with Mr. Nickel. Uh,
Hello.
hello. Your voice can only mean one thing, and that is that it is once again April 1st. And as such, we have picked a movie that we love that is, I would say, pretty like roundly recognized as a bad film.
Yeah,
I
I
but
like to add
yeah.
an upward inflection to Perfect 10.
Yeah.
Perfect 10? Like that's how
Yeah.
I like to appear on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, one day we'll have you back on the show to talk about something like like a little bit more straightforward.
Eh,
But it is also, if there's anybody that I am going to do the April Fool's episode with, it is you.
I mean,
Uh
it is a grand tradition. For those of you who haven't listened to the full back catalog, I believe we've also done Spider-Man 3 and the live-action Super Mario Brothers movies for this one.
yes.
So
Yes. And last year our April Fool's episode was so good that after we recorded it and I put it out, I simply stopped the podcast for the season. I no, there was like a whole other set of circumstances, but it's always so funny to me that like at all these plans for the rest of the season, we did that episode, I released it, and then that was when I like sort of pivoted and made some bigger decisions and put Perfect 10 on hiatus, right? And I think I even put Perfect 10 on hiatus before we released the episode. Like
yeah,
I was like, okay, this is, like, I need to stop. I need to think about some things and make some decisions. And so that episode went out, and it looked very much like to anybody who wasn't paying attention, like if somebody only listens to Perfect 10, it would have looked very much like the movie broke us. Like it was
yeah,
like, you know what? I can't keep doing this. I can't. But it couldn't be further from the case. Honestly,
yeah.
I look forward to these April Fool's episodes now so much because the other stuff that we cover on Perfect 10 is it's pretty safe to say that everything that we've put up as a Perfect 10 is is something that people will at least agree is like pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. um but but with this we get to do what is my favorite thing about Perfect 10, which is that this is not objective. This is not about like us having like a
I mean, we are
scorecard.
correct though. We are very correct.
Oh, yes, for sure. But it's not like we're not like Olympic, gymnastics judges with like a scorecard full of like criteria, and if you step a toe out of line you're no longer a perfect 10, right? Like when we say perfect 10 on this podcast, we are very specifically talking about a subjective opinion based perfect 10, and this movie could not fall in that category harder. But like along with Spider-Man 3, along with the Super Mario Brothers movie, right? Like these are movies that I think you kind of had to be there. There's a lot of nostalgia tied into it. There's also a lot of just like the movie going experience tied into it. But I think different from those other two movies that we've done, this one actually aged so well.
It
It
aged shockingly well.
right? Like it was definitely like, oh guys, you uncorked that way too early. Way too early. Because if you look at the context of it, right? This is a movie that is lampooning the career of its star at the height of his career. Like he's coming off of T2 into this movie, right? And it's like, what are you doing? Like what like why what like it's very in 1993 I think it's a very odd prospect to have John McTiernan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Shane Black, right? Like these are like the guys who created the genre really of like the 80s action movie. And they are making fun of themselves question mark but in 2025 it absolutely plays, like it absolutely works. So I find that so interesting that like with the other ones it's like these are a product of their time. They are like, here are the circumstances, right? The troubled productions, difficulties with the studio and the director, and we end up um with a masterpiece of its own kind, right? With both Spider-Man 3 and Super Mario Brothers. But with this one it's like actually given a little bit of distance from the height of the genre, it is actually like a pretty good take on a lot of things about this type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
um let's give our primer for anybody who maybe didn't watch Last Action Hero before having this
I mean,
pop
I
up in
can't
their feed.
imagine who that would be, but
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Okay, Last Action Hero is a 1993 feature film directed by John McTiernan and starring the biggest action star in the history of Hollywood, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, like when I say biggest, maybe I mean physically, maybe I mean box office wise. I don't know. I'll leave that up to the audience to determine. The genetically engineered blockbuster is a metafictional satire of 80s and 90s action films featuring such staples as explosions, half naked ladies for no reason, and incomprehensible one liners. Much maligned upon release for a myriad valid reasons, the film has gone on to achieve true cult status, begging the question, is this the worst action movie of all time, or quite possibly one of the best? One thing is for sure, though, we are going to talk about it. So let's dig into Arnold's meta masterpiece, Last Action Hero. I Okay, I would like for you
Yes.
to set the scene in 1993. Did you see this in the theaters in
I
1993?
did. I saw this one in theaters. I would have been 8 years old
Yeah,
at the time. And yeah, so we can get right to one main plot point here, which is that this film came out like a week after Jurassic Park.
absolutely.
Quite possibly the worst time to ever release any major motion picture in the history of film. Like it's
Any
like
movie.
anything you
Yeah,
could it could be a movie where watching it cures different diseases you have.
yeah.
It's not going to do well against Jurassic Park. Like it's
No.
just not. But yeah, I not only had this, I had some of the action figures from it
Mm-hmm.
as Christmas presents in 1993. Including, and I believe the one I remember most is Axe Swinging Ripper. I had
Yeah.
the action figure of Ripper from this, which, if you ever look that up, hideous action figure.
Yes.
Truly nightmare fuel.
Yeah, perfectly 90s grotesque. I I yeah, I mean like I referred to it as a genetically engineered blockbuster, and the reason
Mhm.
why I use that terminology is a nod to Jurassic Park having come out a week before it, but also like this movie was basically like it was an attempt by Arnold to stack a film in such a way that there was no way that it could fail,
Mm.
right? Like once he was attached to the movie, and like got John McTiernan in there, and then that ends up with Shane Black coming in and doing a rewrite on it, a rewrite uh of a spoof of his own movies,
Yeah.
right? And a director coming in and directing a spoof of his own movies, right?
So
Like
for
it,
those unfamiliar with the director's work,
yeah.
Die Hard,
Hmm.
Predator,
Hmm.
like
Yeah, Hunt
you've
for Red
got
October,
Hunt
right?
for Red
Like, and
October. It's a
those are
pretty good run. It's a
those.
pretty good
Yeah,
run.
yeah. It's like Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October is like is a sequence of releases from John McTiernan, and quite possibly three of the best movies of the genre, right?
Yeah.
like actually quite easily, like Die Hard is quite easily one of the top 3. Like it's like T2, Die Hard, I don't know what else you put up there, Aliens, right? Like we are talking about like culture defining films. and
And
then
then Last Action Hero.
and then Last Action
So I want
Hero.
to put one thing, because you mentioned the rewrites.
Yeah.
So I today read the first script. I read the whole thing in its entirety. And I want to let you know something. That's going to be a lot of what I talk about in this
Yeah.
podcast, because
Yes.
I need you to know this. It is a worse movie. It is a significantly worse movie than this.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of reshoots. There was a lot of problems with this. We had Carrie Fisher at one point attached
Yeah.
as one of like the punch-up writers on this. A lot of fingers in this particular pie. A lot of chefs in the kitchen. To its detriment, quite possibly. It is a bit of a bloated film. We're running over 2 hours on this here. But the first script that handed in had a couple good scenes in it, a little bit of fun, and it collapses inwards on itself by the end. And I will detail exactly in every way how, so that people can contrast it with what actually came out and see how much better it is.
Yeah. Um yeah, you know what? It's so this is one of the funny things, because I think Carrie Fisher being a script doctor is a thing that actually ends up coming up on this podcast quite a bit. Because like a lot of the movies from the 90s that we consider masterpieces, she got in there and she messed with, right? Like she came in and went like, let's fix this. And was actually like very well known in Hollywood. But it was kind of like Hollywood's best kept secret for a long time. That Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, was also like the person, when your movie is not working, you run it past her and she'll get it, at least making logical sense, and get a couple of good gags in there, sort of thing,
Mhm.
right? Like I but this is one of those instances of like, I clearly she wasn't the last person to touch the script before shooting. But there's lots of talk, like Charles Dance is noted as saying that he was basically rewriting his own dialogue on
Mhm.
set. John McTiernan did a pass after Shane Black did. And yeah, like it just, like everybody involved with this, I think, left their smudgy fingerprints all over it. And I like, that's where you end up with bloat, that's where you end up with like weird inconsistencies.
Mhm.
And then John McTiernan has said, in recent years, like I believe on the Blu-ray there's like an actual like full commentary where he's like, oh my god. I But he has said that like he actually, like, he pulled punches in a lot of places that he regrets, and that there were things where it's like they should have just gone for it. But that's kind of the whole point of like, when you end up with the creative powerhouse team. I mean, like, because when you say on paper, formula wise,
Oh
John
yeah.
McTiernan, Shane Black, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and like at this point in time, Charles Dance is not really like a known quantity, but like we now know him, from Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but like obviously you can see so much of that already in this performance. He's already that great of a bad guy, right? So like you have the pieces required in order to make this absolutely sing, right? but
Yeah, final
but
film appearance of Tina Turner. You've got
yeah.
your final film appearance of Art Carney. Like you've got the cameo list on this goddamn
Oh my
film
god.
is absurd. I want it really quick, just in case someone is
Yeah.
for some reason listening to this who has never seen the film before. A really quick overview of what it is, just as the simpleness of it.
Mhm.
A 10-year-old who, like 12-year-old, I don't know, a child who loves movies is given a magic ticket. He enters his favorite action film. Shenanigans ensue. Then the action film comes out into the real world. Darker shenanigans ensue. And at the end, we all learned a little something about nothing. I don't even actually know what the moral of this movie is,
Yeah.
besides it would be neat if action movies were in the real world. But that's the basic it, is that he goes into the movie comes out into our world. kind of a reflection on the violence and absurdity of action films, and a hoot and a holler of a time in there.
Yeah, you really expect this kid who starts the film in this really like dark awful scenario of like his father has passed away recently, leaving him and his mother destitute, it basically living in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods of
Yeah,
New
there's a
York in the
scene
early
really
90s.
early in of a full-on brutal home invasion
Yeah,
that is not
yeah.
played with any comedy to it. It
Nope.
is just a dark, terrible thing happening to a child.
And so you really think that this kid is going to go into the action movie and like glean some sort of wisdom from Arnold's character Jack Slater, right? That like that through this experience he's going to learn, because there's a moment where the this thief, this ruffian that breaks into his home, I puts the switchblade down on the sink, turns his back and says like, go for it, like free shot, like pick up the knife and stab me, right? um and he can't do it, right? Danny can't do it. This kid is like not a sociopath, it turns out, as much as he loves movies that would make you think that he's a sociopath. He's not. So you think that maybe this is like a setup at the beginning, like Bastion getting uh bullied at the beginning of Neverending Story, that at the end of the movie, Falcor is gonna bully the kids into the dumpster, right? Like that's what that I you watch the movie and you're like, that has to be what we're setting up here. Is that like at the end of this movie, this kid is gonna have like learned all of these like tricks of the trade from Jack Slater, and he'll be able to like take care of himself, and like, and so we get like a happy ending of like, well, he's gonna be all right, right? Nope, nothing, doesn't come back at all. He really doesn't learn much of anything. He just kind of walks off into the sunset with with the projectionist at the movie theater, and it's like, we're gonna keep watching movies and pretending the world doesn't suck. I and it's like, okay, cool. I mean, like a realistic ending, I would say,
Mhm.
to a completely fantastical film, but not as satisfying as there being some sort of elixir that this kid is returning with from his hero's journey. Nothing, nada whatsoever. And Jack Slater going back into his world, you could argue that him like now having the meta knowledge that he is a movie character in a movie, but it's like, in is that it? Does the ending of every Jack Slater 4 now have him like looking at the camera, or is that simply that one screening in that one theater that one
Yeah, we
time?
can't unpack that one too hard.
There's no way of knowing, right? But I can't. I would love to have like cut back to the premiere that was for some reason also happening in New York that night, and Arnold being like, I don't remember filming that. Like, this is not how this. I don't. How did they do that? The special effects, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So this is where I want to
yeah.
compare and contrast it, because I don't think you haven't looked up the plot of the original script, have you?
I know a little bit about it from various podcasts
Okay.
that have like given snippets. Like, I know that initially the his like pal at the movie theater what is actually the devil, right?
Yeah, it really, so that's a big difference
That's
between the
pretty.
first script and
Yeah.
this one. So in the original script, I will say one of the only scenes that like almost one to one from the original script to this one is the Hamlet scene.
Hmm.
We got our main character Danny. He's watching Hamlet with Laurence Olivier. By the way, this teacher in the scene in the film we're watching, like in the regular version of it, the teacher is played by a former wife of Laurence Olivier,
Mhm.
which I just think is delightful casting. But so he's watching that, and then he imagines like, what if Hamlet was a big Schwarzenegger action spectacular? Which, first of all, 10 out of 10 would watch that Hamlet.
Yeah.
But also, so like that scene is the only one that's like almost one to one in a thing. Almost the rest of everything is at least one step removed of what the rest
Yeah.
of the script is. But the furthest removal is, so in the original script, there's no home invasion. He's actually just getting like beat up by a school bully outside of the theater. like just like a regular, like, hey, give me your lunch money bully.
Yeah.
And the projectionist comes out and like hits the bully in the back of the head, which is a grown adult smacking a child. And then brings Danny in. He's like, Danny, you got to be tougher. The world out there is going to chew you up, man. And it's like, it's a kill or be killed kind of world. And then he gives Danny a gun. Like a full-on weird kind of magic looking gun. It's called like this like weird porcelain oversized gun that Danny keeps commenting on how light it feels and how good it feels to hold. It's like, this is a terrible thing happening.
Yeah.
And the projectionist goes to him, he's like, one day you're going to need to do what's right with that gun. One day a decision's going to come to you and you're going to have to use it. And it's like, again, 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, all right, now we're going to watch this movie, which I think is called like Maximum Violence or something like that in their version. And there's no magic ticket. There's no other thing. It's just, he's like, you're going to watch this goddamn movie and keep that gun in your bag. And then he leaves the room and Danny gets sucked into the movie and then a bunch of the movie shenanigans happen. But at the end of the film, it turns out that this is spoilers, by the way, for the early draft of a film released in 1993. If you don't want these spoilers, I don't understand the purpose of you listening to this podcast. But so end of the movie, it turns out the projectionist was actually Mr. Id, who was like the big bad guy in the Jack Slater movie. Also in the script, it's not Jack Slater, it's Arno Slater, Arno Slater. Not Arnold, Arno. So it turns out somehow the projectionist has actually been the main antagonist of the Jack Slater film the whole time. And then when Danny comes back to deal with that, Danny also starts using the gun in the movie and really likes doing gun violence. He is a big fan of committing murder against people in the film. He starts glowing as a result, and he can like turn people into dust with the gun, and he does it a bunch of times to the point where Slater is like, hey kid, stop committing murders. I am genuinely asking you to slow the murder roll. So anyways, he comes out, turns out projectionist was a bad guy the whole time, chases him back into the theater. Theater starts setting on fire. The projectionist starts hovering with fire coming out of his eyes and his eyes turning red. And it's like, you know what you have to do, Danny? I told you. And it's like trying to convince the child to kill him. But like the lesson that Jack Slater learned, or Arno Slater learned, not the kid, was like, hey, life has value and it is wrong to take that from someone even if they're bad. And like one of the plot points was like the main bad guy, who again is the projectionist, which is in our world. I don't understand what's going on, but he's like, oh well, I was only in the drug trade so I could get guns so that I could fight you because you keep trying to arrest me. And he's like, but I'm only trying to arrest you because you're in the drug trade, which you're only in to buy guns so you can fight. And it's like, it's a cycle of violence that neither of us can break, and we're stuck in it, and that's terrible. And that's actually like a point that like he starts becoming a pacifist. And in the script, he didn't have his daughter with him, and it was his actual wife, and his wife leaves him at that point because she's like, listen, if you won't commit to your job or to me, I don't know the point of me being in here. And she just wanders off. She's like, I keep getting kidnapped, I'm not a fan, and like leaves him as he's like having a full-blown existential crisis. It is a bonkers script, and the fact that someone read that and was like, yeah, I think there's good meat on these bones, and they tried to make a full feature film out of it. Frankly astounding. But yeah, no, it is so much worse. Also, no Benedict in the original script, which is like the strongest character of the film.
Yeah.
No Benedict. It's twin Frenchmen who keep getting like mixed up of which one's name is which. And like the big joke with them is like, time to kill these Frenchmen. And they're like, we are Belgian. Like that's the big like returning joke.
That's the twist.
Yeah. It's a terrible script. It's a genuinely not, and I can say that as a professional writer and person who can read words. It is not a good script.
You know, I mean, like, hey, listen, you don't have to brag, you know, about being able to read words. I mean, in 2025, big brag, big humble
brag.
On
but
that one.
it was a slog to get through. Yeah, all of the action scenes are just worse versions of everything that we have. Like, I was like, I need people to read that script and watch this movie and be like, you know what? I just like, you're gonna add a couple extra points to this film
Yeah.
to be like, if that's what you started with and this is where you went, God bless you. You did a lot of work here.
I just it's so interesting to me because the initial script obviously reads as much more of an R-rated, like straight up and
Yeah,
down, 80s
they talk
action
about
movie.
bosoms and
Yes.
whatnot.
But what is released in 1993 is very much a hybrid of Arnold's previous films, right? Kindergarten Cop, Terminator. It's like you've taken these two things and put them together in order to make like a family friendly
Mhm.
Terminator movie,
And at a
right?
really interesting time where like the PG-13 action blockbuster kind of gets its birth around this era because it used to
Hmm.
be like if you're an action movie, you're probably going for a hard R. Like if
Yeah,
you're a real like you're not gonna want to pull the punches and whatnot. Like otherwise, you're kind of just a kiddie movie. But walking that line in between being like a genuine action film and family friendly, like it that was kind of the birth area of it. So again, like you couldn't see it for what it was when it came out. You couldn't see how like
yeah,
intelligent a statement it was making about the situation. I don't know if it was making the statement on purpose, but like this deconstruction of straight up having like, hey, say this F word I wrote down on the paper. And it's like you can't because it's a PG
yeah.
movie and you have to tone down your language for no reason. And it's like
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I think it is such a fascinating movie for that very reason, right? Because I think if you've watched the documentary about Arnold, then you'll be familiar with the idea that like this guy, as much as he's been lampooned as a muscle bound meathead for most of his career. And certainly he's earned that reputation with some of the things that he said. He is, at the end of the day, an incredibly savvy business person. And obviously, he was a career politician coming off of the acting thing. And you can see some of that getting set up here, but the biggest thing about it is that you can see that he read this script, right, the one that you're talking about, and saw potential in it
mm,
that I think most other people probably would have passed on entirely. Like they would have just completely disregarded, because I think that like in thinking about his career, in thinking about where he wants to go eventually, because he has talked about it, like at that time he was already thinking about politics, right? That he would, when the action movie star thing dried up, that's what he would do, right? That he would make that transition. So he's already thinking about that, and in service of that he's going, i gotta I gotta ride the wave, right? It's the mid 90s, or we're entering the mid 90s, and people don't want the R-rated action movie anymore. There's all this criticism about like the exploitation and like unnecessary like sexualized stuff in these films about murder porn, right? Like,
yeah.
and like the conversations with like parent groups about the body counts in these films, right?
Which is a
um
straight up call out on this one of like the
ex-
difference in body count.
right, exactly. And so he is making a conscious decision. Not that he hasn't already been doing family friendly films, because like I said, Kindergarten Cop is a thing that has already come out, is a pretty decent success, right? Certainly not one of his biggest movies, but I think Kindergarten Cop is actually one of his like best regarded movies, right? Especially from those of us who were there at the time. I think we go like, Kindergarten Cop's a good movie. Like it's not amazing, it's not mind blowing. It's just like it is one of those like solid '90s movies, right? Where you're just like, this is just a good watch. It's just a good watch. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think too much. It's not gonna like challenge me at all, but I am gonna be thoroughly entertained throughout. So like he's done a little bit of that, he's dabbled, but then like he's going like, he can tell the writing is on the wall. Action movies are about to change, right? What the blockbuster is about to change. And he couldn't be more right. unfortunately, he didn't have quite the prescience to know that Jurassic Park was going to absolutely eat their lunch. But Jurassic Park is like the beginning of a move towards more thoughtful, intentional, well-made action horror thriller sort of stuff, right? Like both Jurassic Park and Last Action Hero, funny enough, set the stage for movies like Independence Day and Men in Black that would be like Will Smith's rise to fame,
Hmm.
right? Like, but you can really see how this is like the beginning of that. I mean, like the next year in '94, you're gonna get like the Power Rangers movie, right? We start moving towards like action movies being really geared more towards kids and less the R-rated thing. Um,
And then
and
again, literally with this one, he's taking a child by the
yeah,
hand and be like, "We're in an action movie now." Like that's what
yeah,
this is. This is him trying to take the audience. Like, look at this surrogate for you. You are with me in action films now. Like it's everything he
yeah.
can do.
But the movie, like at the same time that it's like that the concept is so clear, the execution is so muddy because they do have the half naked ladies everywhere for no
Hmm.
reason. But the reason is that they're pointing out that that's a trope, right? But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, but your movie is also it's still full of half
I
naked women
mean,
for no
if
reason
we
in
want to
latex,
start pointing out
right?
flaws, there
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
fact that T1000 walks through the precinct, but then they reference Terminator 2, and also T1000 wasn't actually a cop. So what is he doing there? What's the T1000 doing,
yeah,
everybody?
yeah. Well, I mean, they walk past the T1000, and then Sharon Stone is there as her character, right? Like, it's
And this
and
is
we're,
this is
this
of course also ignoring the Danny DeVito animated cat, but you know.
exactly, yeah, Danny DeVito animated cat, and then later on when they return to that gag, digitized Humphrey Bogart, right? Who like is like turns towards what's going on and is like aghast at the situation, um, which is like they're like making fun of the like, oh, you know, this is the way that movies are going, and like these stupid gimmicks of like having a cartoon cat in live action and like digitizing Humphrey Bogart to you know, sully his image, you know, after his passing,
And I
sort
mean,
of thing.
like, there's also then the fact later when Death comes out of the movie, he still has his death powers in the real world, even though that
Hmm.
Slater doesn't have his regeneration powers. There's a bunch of stuff that's wrong with the
Yeah,
movie. The thing that bothers me the most out of all of that stuff, and it's one of the more minor parts that doesn't actually play with the going in and out of film reality thing, Harry Houdini famously debunked fake magic.
yeah,
And the main plot point of this is that a ticket stub given by Harry Houdini is full of real magic that really lets you enter into fictional worlds. And it bugged me the whole time because I'm
yeah.
like, no, he would have hated that.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, you know what that does? It tells me you have a fundamental misunderstanding of who Harry Houdini
Yeah,
was as a person.
that's all that
Yeah,
was. You could
yeah,
have
yeah,
invented. You could have invented any magician name you wanted in the whole world, but you could think of one magician when you thought of the word magician, and it was Harry Houdini. And
yeah.
god damn it, what are you doing? That
And
and a child knowing the actors from Amadeus.
yeah, yes, yeah. I can just picture Christopher Nolan in 1993, having just watched Jurassic Park the week before, and then going like, well, you know what, I'm gonna give this new Arnold movie a chance, and he's sitting there. And they get to that point, and he has the same reaction that you do, and he swears in that moment, one day I'm gonna make a movie about magicians that sets the record straight, and that's how we got The Prestige.
And that's why there's
Uh,
a murder factory.
yeah, the Prestige, the movie that like he made way too early in his career and gave away the actual trick behind all of his other films and makes them completely unwatchable for me. Like I just the Prestige, like his movies are good. His movies are in some instances I think actually quite great. But when Christopher Nolan like puts out the Prestige and then is like, this is my thesis on how to make movies. And then you watch every one of his movies afterwards and you're like, so
Yep.
these are all just prestiges. Like, don't look at them too hard. Don't think about what's actually happening. You're being distracted by a Prestige in every single scene. Like, it's just such a wild thing to me. Anyways, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna take this time
Yeah.
to just awkwardly swing thing, because I've brought up now a website that lists every action figure that came out of the last Action Hero range, and I'm going to describe every single one because there was only one run of figures, and that's what I've decided we're doing now. I demand that this is what we're doing.
Take it away. This is why you are on the
Thank
April
you.
Fool's episodes.
So we're gonna start with axe swinging Ripper, which is the Ripper from the film. He does come with his like weird plate mail chest armor, his giant axe, a cape, and a hat. Some text from the back here. This fiendish menace is a real cut-up. Under his cloak of doom lurks a mighty axe for chopping up anyone who crosses his path. His evil dream is to cut his way into Jack Slater's heart. So what I love about this is they obviously just showed a photo of the character to someone making the toy, said 2 names of characters from the film, and they're like, I got this 100%. Don't you worry.
I like the implication that the Ripper's motivations are actually romantic in nature.
Yeah, that's nice.
I like that. Yeah, he's actually just trying to cut his way into Jack Slater's heart.
So the other obvious villain figure from this series would be Evil Eye Benedict. This sinister foe has an eye for evil, and he's always up to no good. Clever and brutal, Benedict aims his gruesome gun and blasts his evil eyes upon whomever sets his sight. So he comes with a briefcase with a bunch of eyeball stickers in it.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then we got your dynamite Jack Slater, which comes with 2 sticks of dynamite, some bricks, an I-beam, and some dumbbells, and a little bit of wall to bust down. It's nice for him. You can get the Evil Eye Roadster stunt car, which is just like I think that's just the car from the James Bond Jr. set, but you put Benedict in it.
Yeah.
Some heat packing Jack, which is a Jack Slater with a rocket launching backpack that's made of construction material. A hook launching Danny, which is Danny, the child actor from this, who launches a grappling hook out of a gun. Undercover Jack, which is Jack Slater with a trench coat that pops off of him to reveal handcuffs. And the entire reason I wanted to do this list, and a figure which I now must find and put into my life, Skull Attack Jack. It's the Hamlet figure.
Oh my god.
They made an action figure of Hamlet Schwarzenegger, and the special feature is there's a skull on like one of those rocket sticks, like, you know, like the Boba Fett backpack thing.
Yeah.
And his arm is straight, and you can load the skull into his arm and fire the skull of Yorick from the Fist of Schwarzenegger's action figure. And he also comes with a dagger. The back text here, if I may. Yeah. Jack Slater turns Hamlet into a modern-day hero. To be or not to be? There's only one answer to that question, as he hurls the wicked skull with deadly accuracy. Not to be.
I had to bring up an image of this as you described it, so that I could just see it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm gonna say bravo on the likeness.
Yeah, it's a solid figure. It can also, in a pinch, if you need a Shakespearean John Cena figure, good news.
Yes, yeah.
But like, he's in the full outfit. He's got like a belt with a couple daggers and a skull, and this is my new favorite thing that exists in the toy world. This is amazing.
That is.
They made a Schwarzenegger Hamlet figure, and just there was no way to know that was in the world before I started looking up stuff for this podcast today.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you did, and that now I know that this exists, so that I can hopefully find some time to draw some fan art of this action figure specifically. Yeah. Oh my god, that is so awesome. So
I'm finding another one. There's actually a second figure, because there's also like a lower rent line of figures. So there was another one that's just him in a dramatic pose holding a dagger that's a lot less articulated. So there's actually 2 Hamlet figures.
That's fantastic.
Good news.
You know that Schwarzenegger specifically said that the toy could not have a gun, that the toy of Jack could not have a
Yeah.
gun. So that heat packing Jack, you expect heat packing Jack to maybe be packing heat, and
No, it's a
he's not.
rocket
He has
launcher.
a rocket launcher, and that is why, because Schwarzenegger specifically said that the toys needed to be more kid friendly and therefore could not have guns, because it's 1993 and Power Rangers exist, and therefore there's a bunch of moms getting very mad that Power Rangers are making children do violent things,
Mm-hmm.
which is
So
in fact not the case.
this,
The only thing that the Power Rangers did that enacted any violence is that those of us who were too old to be pretending to be Power Rangers on the playground were getting beat up for it. So that's the reality of that. But um yeah, no, this is like the era of like Bart Simpson saying "eat my shorts" and everybody losing their cool about it. That like you cannot have a character on television telling children that it's appropriate to say "eat my shorts," and so Schwarzenegger is like, "Do not give a gun to that toy." Meanwhile, Orion Pictures is like, "How many more RoboCop figures can we put out? This movie is not appropriate for children, but boy, do they like that Chrome Dome."
my neighbor
Uh,
growing up had a RoboCop figure where you push a button on his back and it's like an LED mouth moves to him
yes.
talking, and it was the coolest thing I've seen in my life. And it made me go rent RoboCop from the local rental store, and I should not have watched that movie that young.
No,
Uh,
no,
I should not
absolutely
have
not.
known a bunch of phrases that were in that movie that I won't put on your podcast. Uh,
Absolutely.
one of them is about who should leave. Um,
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can. Yeah, RoboCop is one of those things where like we all loved RoboCop, and really should not have even known of his existence, um, because of the actual content of that film. But don't worry, eventually they made RoboCop 3, which was for us,
yeah.
and has absolutely none of the teeth that the first two films have.
So this
Certainly
does bring
nowhere near the
me,
first one.
looking at that merch does bring me
Yeah,
to the thing of the ad campaigns for this movie, because
yeah,
again they were like so certain of what it was doing, they were so sure of themselves.
yeah.
Can I talk about some of the ads that were on this, because it was the
Please
best.
do, because I know where some of this is
Yeah,
probably going. Yeah,
so
go
one of
ahead.
them was a thing I do remember having was the Burger King action cups.
Hmm.
They were like a lenticular double layer cup that when you twist it, it had those, it's like one of those images with like the black up and down lines, and you twist it and it gives like the illusion of motion.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of those. I looked up one of the old commercials for it, and it actually starred Deborah Wilson from Mad TV. So we had that going for us. We had the action cups, which is just a lot of Burger King in the heyday of Burger King toys. I will say, dollar for dollar, pound for pound, better than any McDonald's toys. The Lord of the Rings run, the Pokemon Gold card run, like Burger King was way better toys as a kid growing up than McDonald's. That's a fact. That's an inarguable truth. These cups were lame as hell. This was a
Yeah.
super undersell on that. So we had that. There was an MTV contest where the grand prize was you get to go to LA. It's a classic. You go to LA, go to the premiere, go to the after party. But one person at that after party would win Jack Slater's jacket and car. So don't know where that ever ended up, but that was up there for grabs. They had, so there's a giant inflatable Jack Slater you can see in the film. They had that at the Cannes Film Festival. They put that down in Times Square. They had to take it out of Times Square because he told a bunch of dynamite and a bombing had just happened in the city. That's fun for them. And then I think we know where this is headed, and that's to space. Because this was, as far as the research shows, one of the first major motion pictures to advertise on an actual NASA rocket.
Yeah.
A rocket that did not go into space until well after the film was released.
Yeah. Yes, quite famously, this rocket, the NASA had to delay the launch of it, as they do
As
very
they
often
should,
with
too.
launches, right? Yeah, because when they we're doing the test, and it's like, oh nope, there's something wrong. If we launch this, it will explode. I and not in the intended fashion.
No.
But in a spectacular and deadly fashion. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna pump the brakes on this. At which point, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Arnold probably had a fit. He probably
Yeah.
got
Well, there
pretty
was a
upset.
second part to that. So there was the rocket part. They had his name on it. It said Last Action Hero, said his name. But they
Yeah,
also did like, and I sent you the commercial for this
you
earlier
did.
today.
Yeah.
There was a 1-900 number that you could call to leave a message that would go on the rocket. And I can't think of anything more scammy in that day and age
Yes.
than that. That's how would you ever confirm whether or not that happened? One, and two, to what end do you need your phone message on a rocket that went into
Yeah.
space?
Yeah.
Like what is the joy that comes to like, hey guys, I don't want to impress nobody here, but I paid $3.75 a minute on a phone call and I said some curse words in space. Like actually, you know what? Now that I say it out loud, I think I figured it out.
Yeah,
But
listen, I if you've ever seen Star Trek the motion picture, you know exactly why you would want to do that, and that is to influence basically a techno deity, a
I've
few
only
hundred
ever
years
seen
in
the
the
fourth
future.
one. I only know about the space whales. That's the
Oh,
only one
okay.
I've seen.
Yeah. Uh,
But yeah,
that's why, yeah, to only have ever watched the fourth Star Trek film.
it's a choice.
you'd
It's a strong choice.
you'd actually have a more accurate understanding of Star Trek the original series as a television program if that's the only one of the movies that you ever saw, because it's the only one of the movies that actually reflects what the TV show was about. But
Mm.
that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I don't know. We're obviously goofing quite a bit on a lot of the things surrounding this movie, but I do just want to steer us back towards it so that
Mhm.
I can say
Mhm.
this movie is actually legitimately quite good.
So,
Um,
yeah, I think when you make a parody film,
yeah,
you have to love the subject matter. If you wanna make a
yeah,
good parody film, if you don't wanna, because like, the parody film, I will say these days, is all but dead, in my
mm,
opinion. Like, it's been
hmm
a long damn time since we've had something that was an actual parody film or the parody of a genre that wasn't one of the, like, I call them, like, the time capsule parody ones, like Epic Movie or whatever, where it's just like,
yeah,
here's a bunch of movies that happened in the last couple of years. We put them all in one movie together. We say lines for them out loud. There's nothing to say about the genre or the context. It's just a
no,
time capsule of stuff that happened 10 years from now. If you watch this movie, none of it's going to make a goddamn lick of sense.
yeah.
Like,
It's just a bunch of MTV Movie Awards SNL skits stitched together into a
yeah.
movie.
And
Yeah.
like this thing as a parody and deconstruction of like
Yes.
what happens in an action movie, what suspension of disbelief are we willing to engage with, how does like the logic of all of this play out if you do actually examine it for more than 10 seconds, was done really well.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is that it was ahead of its time. Like that is the difficult reality of this movie, is that it, it existing now, it's absolutely in line with what I refer to as like postmodern, right?
Mhm.
Because you have like the modern era of things, and then postmodern is the idea of postmodern is art that is essentially like self-referential, right? So it's the beginning of meta in culture, right? Of us going like, okay, so a good example of this, like actually within this genre, would be Die Hard, right? Because prior to Die Hard, you've got Predator, you've got like Commando, and movies going back further than that, like the Death Wish movies with Charles Bronson, and action movies were like very hard nosed, and action heroes, especially like in the early 80s, started to take on this other sort of quality, starting with Arnold, and then and then Stallone, and and then eventually like Jean Claude Van Damme, and in that era like Chuck Norris, of like tough guys that could do martial arts or could do action, or hold a big gun, punch really hard, all of that sort of thing. And then you've got John McClane who comes along, Bruce Willis, he's not the most handsome guy. He's a good looking guy, he's pretty handsome in Die Hard, but he doesn't have the traditional, like thick full head of hair and perfect hairline and
Mhm.
all that. He is not jacked beyond belief, right? He doesn't stand his ground in every single scenario. Sometimes he runs away because that's the smart thing to do, right? And so that's like Die Hard is what I would consider one of like the first postmodern action movies, right? That's taking the genre and actually like subverting it and turning it on its head in order to like make a better film, right? In order to have a just a little bit more meat on the bones than the genre had up until that point. And that's one of the reasons why I think Die Hard ends up being regarded the way that it is, right? Because it is the first one to sort of go like, let's poke a little bit more fun at this, and then like Beverly Hills Cop follows suit, right? Like a bunch of movies start to follow suit with that, where you get more like everyman heroes that and a lot more humor, intentional humor injected into it, and not like ham-fisted one-liners, but like actual like legit funny jokes and stuff, right? And then you get eventually in like the late 90s, but really more so in like the late 2000s and the early 2010s, we get to a point of like postmodern. And the best example of postmodern to me is Community, right? Like but really anything that Dan Harmon has done in his career
Mm.
is like to me defines that thing that nobody else bothers to define. Like I don't think that I've ever heard anybody else talk about postmodern, but like to me it is it's 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 so much of like where we're at now with movies and TV, where everything has meta context to it, right? And I'm not just talking about for comedic value, which is where a lot of it comes out that it's like more overt, but if you look at the MCU, the whole MCU, every single one of the films in the MCU, some of them to great effect and some of them not so much, they are postmodern. They are like referencing the self reference, right? Iron Man 3 is directed by Shane Black.
Hmm.
And it is a pairing of Shane Black and Robert Downey Jr. and them coming back together, having made movies together previously, and there are references within Iron Man 3 to those movies. It is set at Christmas because that is what Shane Black does when he makes action
Which
movies.
I will say, if you've not seen The Nice Guys, probably my favorite Shane Black, has like a scene at Christmas, but it sneaks
Yeah,
in there, baby.
yeah, I mean, like it like that movie is referencing, it references back to to the previous two Iron Man movies. It references back to other things in Robert Downey Jr.'s career. It references things in his personal life. It references Shane Black. It references things in his career. Like if you look at the layers that's in Iron Man 3, it's actually, it goes pretty deep, right? And I would say, just having watched Last Action Hero, it's like I would say that the Mandarin, being the character that he is almost Shane Black going like, give me another shot. Give me another shot at
Yeah.
Last Action Hero. I think I can do it better this time. Because it, like, that character being like the Ben Kingsley Mandarin, being that character, to me it feels like a character out of this world, right? That is like, it like we are making fun of actors, we are making fun of action movies, we are making fun of all of this stuff, while also that, that is like having your cake and eating it too, because you've also then got Guy Pearce as Killian, being like the standard, MCU supervillain. So it's like, I this movie works well now because we are trained on this stuff. But it took a minute for that to happen. It took shows like Community and even like I would say like The Office, Parks and Rec, like all of the the faux documentary,
Christopher Guest kind of.
yeah, like that whole aspect of it becoming mainstream and becoming a thing that people now understand, that like, jimming at the camera, right? Like which Arnold does in this movie, right? Like those are things that in 1993 I think one of the things that really marks the 90s, especially the mid 90s, as an era of film is how sincere the filmmaking was. Because I think of movies that really define the 90s as Jurassic Park. Totally sincere film. There's nothing satirical. There is nothing like that. It is not thumbing its nose at anything.
No, I mean this
It
is
is
the
just
same year that like Schindler's List comes out. Like it's
right. Like Father
Pelican
of the
Brief.
Bride
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like
yeah.
is a movie that I go and I go, if you want like a seminal, like the most 90s movie that I can think of, I think of Father of the Bride, right? It was like Steve Martin, he's doing something that's kind of dramatic but not really. It's mostly a comedy, but it's not absurd comedy. It's like it is very sincere, it's very genuine, it's heartfelt and wholesome, like and it's got that sepia tone to it. Everything is tinted brown. I and like that is like that was the 90s, right? Until we started getting into like the later 90s, and we started getting into the more like satirical stuff. And to me, like that was really a reaction to the 80s, which were especially the early 80s, and the budget stuff, which is what Schwarzenegger is coming out of, right? Were like so over the top, so ridiculous, and so much like, and that's everybody trying to make the next Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Masters of the Universe, and you've got, and you've got like Predator is a response to Star Wars, right? So it's like this. There's this
Or just like
sequence of
Thing and
eras.
ET coming out at the same time and having to compete for what an alien looks like. You get some fun.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so like the 90s are like everybody going like, we're all just gonna wear clothes from the Gap and be pretty serious about a lot of stuff. Not serious in like the let's not have any fun, but serious in the like every movie is taking itself seriously within its own world. Even
Yeah.
like Ace Ventura is is taking itself seriously. It's just that he's an absurd character in a movie that is otherwise completely straight, right?
So, you've mentioned the 90s a few times, and I was going through
Yeah.
when I was looking this up. I have a list here. So for 1993, so I'm just going to focus the same year
Yes.
as this film. So
Yeah.
exact peers of this film. We've got 3 or 4 absolute bangers of other parody films coming out that year. We've got Loaded Weapon 1, which is the National Lampoon one with Emilio
Yes.
Estevez and Samuel L. Jackson. It's an amazing send up of a Shane Black film.
Yes.
The same year a Shane Black action comedy is coming out. We've got Robin Hood Men in Tights. We've got Hot Shots Part 2. I would consider almost Matinee kind of semi parody film. If you've not seen
Yeah.
Matinee, it's the Joe Dante film starring John Goodman. It's fantastic. I have it on Blu-ray. It is fantastic with that. But just if we're getting all these like quality parody films, and this one it's walking that line, but it's just surrounded on either side by these
It,
people kind of doing it better.
I,
Um,
I think that's what McTiernan is talking about, right? Where he's like, I pulled punches, right? Like if he was gonna, if he's really satirizing not just action movies, but like the move towards family friendly and kid oriented action movies, like in 1993, if you want to do that, like you're making fun of RoboCop 3,
yeah,
right? Like you're saying that like you guys are like you're making fun of the fact that they're selling toys based off Alien 3 at this point, right? Like they're making toys based off of Alien 3, which is not a film. It's not even just that Alien 3 is not appropriate for kids. No child wants to watch that
no,
movie. I mean, most adults don't want to watch that movie, but I personally have no problem with any of the Alien movies from that the first four, like the mainline Alien movies. But most people are like, a little bit averse to that film, but it didn't stop them from going like, hey, here's the dog alien and here's a bunch of other animal aliens that aren't even in the film because we're just selling these toys to kids because kids think the xenomorph is cool, right? So like you can make fun of that, and a great opportunity is like the fart bubble in the tar pit, which like is a wet fart of a joke. Like it doesn't end up landing, and it's one
no.
of the places where I think that's like, if you push that a little bit further, it could have been good satire. It could have been very funny. And you know what? Mel Brooks would have had the guts to do it.
He would have.
right?
He would have had a
Mel
time with
Brooks
it.
would have had the guts to have that fart bubble explode, right?
Or just slow leak out for like 45 straight seconds.
With the
Just
the balloon sound, right?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One or the other, right?
Um,
Like he was gonna do something.
while I've
Yeah.
got this list open,
Yes.
1993 was an astonishing year in film. I'm just going to start naming movies out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of these were in 93. So the first Leprechaun, not a great movie, but set up an entire franchise, started
I
in
mean, a
93.
classic.
Yeah,
A
started in
classic. Yeah.
93. Matinee that I mentioned earlier, one of my favorites. Homeward Bound came
Mm.
out in 93. Groundhog Day, Army
Oh,
of
jeez.
Darkness, The
Yeah.
Crying Game, El Mariachi, so we're launching Robert Rodriguez, Falling Down, which I haven't watched in a while, but I betcha nowadays for a very upset man getting increasingly more upset movie probably plays pretty well. Swing Kids, really, really good early Christian Bale film if you've not seen that one, about kids dancing during World War II. Then we get a low point with Ninja Turtles 3. I'm not saying they're all bangers that year. We keep on pushing on. We keep on getting on. You got The Sandlot and Indecent Proposal coming out on the same day. Um, very important on that. Keep going down the list here. There's a lot here. There was just a lot going on. My Neighbor Totoro came out in 93. We got Hot Shots Part 2. We got Cliffhanger. I'm now remembering this summer as being like, oh yeah, there was like some good stuff. Super Mario Brothers, the live action movie.
Yes.
Also very important, 93. Jurassic Park, Last Action Hero, back to back. Those poor people. Then following up that, the live action Dennis the Menace, same summer for that.
I can see all of the Disney adventures
right.
covers this,
And then the same weekend, Hocus Pocus and Free Willy came out.
Oh boy. Wow.
Yeah, that's a hell of a weekend. You got Robin Hood Men in Tights, So I Married an Axe Murderer, a classic there. And like this is me just like picking and choosing as I go down, but there's like there's so many just like Jesus Christ, that Surf Ninjas also came out.
Surf Ninjas is also
really
a thing.
Really important that I call out things, but again, this is all one year. This is all just like True Romance came out that year. We just this like Cool Runnings. Like 93 Demolition Man, that was the other one that I was going to say is a parody.
Yeah.
Like if you want to compare, this comes out the same year as goddamn Demolition Man, and if you're comparing the two, they both got pinball machines out of it, but still.
But I mean, like Demolition Man similarly
and Nightmare Before Christmas
doesn't go
comes
over
out
as
that
well,
year.
right? But yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas also 93, and Addams Family Values, Mrs. Doubtfire. Just like Jesus Christ, 93. Just give people a breath, man. Wayne's World 2, Sister Act 2, Schindler's List, Beethoven's 2, all on the same territory, all the same level of respect there.
I mean, like you name all those movies, and then I'll also add to and obviously, you and I are going to be very biased.
Yeah, the best one of that year was Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah, there you go. We are prime targets for most of what you just said.
Yeah.
On top of what I'm going to add to it, which is that like you're also talking about the point in time when Batman the Animated Series, X-Men, Spider-Man, Gargoyles, right? Man, the list keeps going of like all the Saturday morning cartoons. Power Rangers has just premiered in 1993, right? Like we are, I think we are at like peak 90s in 93.
Oh no, like basically me reading those films out for anyone that was a sentient creature during those years. That was the equivalency of a key jingle. Like it was like, you like those words, huh? Yes. Those are your favorite words. Those are good words in there. But like that's 1 year. That is 1 year of film. I don't want to sound like a grumpy old man or anything, but we don't get many of those years no more. We don't get years that stacked of just like, so many of those endured to like things we will still watch today. Like it's absurd.
Yeah. 93 is like I think a pretty like seminal year just across the board, because like I'm sure if we like looked up video game releases in that year as well, you're gonna get a bunch of amazing games that came out that are like pretty defining. Because you're right in the beginning of the Genesis and Super Nintendo era there. Yeah, and music was also incredible in 1993. So like it's just it, it's one of those things. This is not necessarily a political statement, but I just want to like, not that I ever shy away
Ooh,
from that sort of thing.
liking how you're racking this one up,
Yeah,
boss. Let's go.
I just don't want to. I don't want us to go down like a whole other rabbit hole. Right? I want to
Uh-huh.
keep us focused on Schwarzenegger. But I, when a lot of people, I think, in our generation are saying "Make America Great Again," this
Oh
is what they're
no.
talking
Oh,
about.
this pull up. Pull up.
I think, but like my point being that like all of this stuff that we're talking about, all of this media and all of this stuff that you and I can go like, man, oh boy, like 93, what a year. Escapism and distraction from stuff that was going on in the real world. Because
Yeah.
if we looked up the actual like
Oh, I don't want to look up what was
historical
actually
events,
happening in the world when I was
no,
8 years old.
exactly,
That's
right?
terrible.
But that is exactly my point, is that like something like the way that phrase, that the MAGA phrase has been used to weaponize nostalgia and turn people into monsters in the hopes that somehow, some way, they'll get another summer like 1993.
Mm.
Right? Because you say that and I'm like, oh my god, that summer, Dennis the Menace, Ninja Turtles, like Jurassic Park, like you are talking about one of the best years of my life, right? And certainly one of the best summer vacations of my life, because that summer vacation is the one that ends with Power Rangers being a thing that's on TV.
Yeah.
And it's like just I yeah,
I remember
it's
watching Last Action Hero. I believe it was the Lougheed Cinema. It was the Dollar Cinema, and it was called. And this is, I've never seen such a genius name for a cinema chain. The chain was called A Theater Near You, so that
that's
every
fantastic.
trailer became an ad for them. Just
Yeah,
like, coming soon to a theater near you. You're like, oh hey, like, brilliant. That
very clever.
is
Yeah.
top tier, just amazing work from them. And it was a garbage theater chain, and I loved it so much. Everything that came there, you're like, oh man, that's about to come out on VHS in like 2 weeks if it's at this theater, because it was a buck theater. It was like $1.50 for the movie
Yeah.
ticket, $1.50 for popcorn. Them's the times, boyos.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like that's exactly what I'm talking about, is like life felt so much easier, and it's because we just weren't aware of how bad it was in the world. Um but you know,
Empathy is so exhausting. It's
right, exactly. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there it is. Last Action Hero is a contributor to the downfall of Western civilization. But all of the things that we talk about pretty much are in a very similar
yeah. So
respect.
I just want to take one more second to talk about the performance of Charles Dance as Mr. Benedict in
Yes,
this.
please.
So Mr. Benedict, on reflection of watching this, is one of the all-time greatest movie villains.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Benedict is one of the only movie villains I've ever seen that has to wrestle with the Plato's cave of existence within his own means of film. For those of you unfamiliar, Plato's cave, in a very general way, is the idea that if you were in a cave and all you saw was shadows and echoes, you would think that's what reality is, because you wouldn't have any other context. You're just like, hey, the shadows and echoes of what's actually happening are the whole reality. There's nothing else. There's just this. I might not be doing it fully justice as well as Plato could have, but that general idea of like the Matrix, the veil coming off, the like,
Yeah.
this is the real world. I'm seeing it for the first time, and I'm blinded by the purity of the light and the sound of it all. Him going through that in about a minute and a half from being upset that his boss is stupider than he would like him to be and things aren't quite going to plan, and it always seems like, you know, the world's got its thumb on him, to realizing, oh, I am a fictional character in a world specifically set up that I should lose, and exploring what it means to be real and non-fictional. And there's actually a little point, I was watching some other stuff about this in his monologue, which is like right to the camera as he's like realizing like I can go to the real world, I can actuate, I can also then come back to this fantasy and live safely here as long as I want. There's a scene where he's talking to the camera, and as it sweeps across a mirror, right as he's talking about that, you can see the crew in the mirror. And it's this weird moment because I don't think it was intentional.
Yeah.
But like that breaking, like, oh no, like the metatextual levels of this, the examinations of what it is to play a character and be a character and be out in the world and be able to come back to this fantasy is 800 times deeper than this movie is intending it to be. Like when he goes into the real world and is like horrified by actual simple violence. Like he tried to make a bomb that would have killed families. He's tried to destroy things. He's kidnapped people. But like the first real violence he stumbles on is a mugging where they take someone's shoes. And he is like so taken aback at just that deep inhuman level of violence, that impersonal violence of like take his shoes, Jesus, like that's so genuinely evil. Like
and again, like the movie not absolutely not intending to be this deep, but you get a moment, and I think that this is Charles Dance, right? Like that's what's happening here, is that it's him. He's internalizing a bunch of stuff, and therefore we are able to project a whole bunch of like headier stuff onto the film that isn't necessarily there by way of John McTiernan, right? Like he sees this and has absolutely a moment of like an existential crisis of like what is it to be a villain, almost like and there's a like a futility of it, and like this again like existential questions going on of like can you change your nature, right? Because he is transported into this world where he is shown the artifice of his own creation, right? And can do one of two things. He can disappear into this world forever, right? Because all he has to do to escape from Jack Slater and a child is to simply not commit an act of violence.
Yeah. Or to just choose another film. Like just like you have a ticket, you can go into another film, you can live a happy life in whatever, like literally whatever world you want to be in.
But like to that point, like he has this tool, he has this thing that if his actual motivation was some sort of like freedom, you know, financial or what have you, and that's why he's doing violence, right? Then he has this thing where he could simply go into movies and just take things of value and bring them back into the real world. And it, I mean, even beyond that, just with his knowledge, being a movie character and understanding that, and now being in this world and having the ruthlessness that he does, he wouldn't even need to be violent. He could just be a politician, right? Like there's a whole other
there is
movie.
a deleted scene. It's an extended scene of the one where he's talking to the Ripper in the limo before he sends him after Jack Slater. But he says like you know, after we do this and the crimes, I actually have a dinner to go to. I get invited to quite a few dinners now. It's amazing what happens when you just have some money. And like it's a straight up statement of like, oh yeah, in the real world, like some of the tools I had back in the fictional world still work pretty well. Like you grease some palms, you get some good treatment.
So like he has this opportunity to not be this thing that he was created to be, and what does he do? He just goes right back into it, which is the thing that dooms him, right? Like, because if he doesn't do any of that, if he doesn't go after Jack, then none of it matters, right? Like I said, like he could just disappear into this world and go off and just like live a life, knowing that like, oh, you can just like steal a person's shoes off of their feet in this world.
Well, right? Like, again, just in full thing of the Charles Dance performance, the scene where he like tests the theory of, because he's so used to you fire a gun at cops right there, and he's like he shoots a guy in the middle of the street, cold blood, no motive, shoots a man dead, and then shouts to the street like, "I've killed someone. I've done it on purpose. Come and arrest me." And it's like, no, you're fine. And just like the look of pure wonder on his face where he's like, this is where I'm a god. Like not in the fictional world where I'm safe from all consequences and stuff. Like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So all the only consequence is that somebody shouts from up above, "Shut up!"
Yeah.
Right? Like that's it. They just, which is its own bit of satire, right? But yeah, like it is such a brilliant performance because it's so clear that this was not fully the intent
Yeah,
of the
and again,
film.
I have to say, in the original script, not even a character in it. The
Yeah,
the two
yeah,
henchmen characters have no moments of actualization. The main villain turns out to be the projectionist that sent him in the first place, so there's no character in the film getting that like thing. There's very, very little in the real world. It's just like
yeah,
the absolute end of the finale is like back in the real world. And I think those moments of like taking Jack Slater and be like, yeah, he's never heard classical music before. It's the most beautiful thing he's ever heard. Like
yeah,
he's never like he hasn't known pain, but he also hasn't known simple levels of joy. He's never been able, and like that comes up in the original script of like him reflecting of like I would have loved to have a kid, but it's just one more person for them to like use against me and hold hostage, and it's terrible.
yeah,
And like that kind of stuff. Like definitely feel that the daughter was underutilized in that sense of having that reflection of like, hey, like was she mentioned in other films? This is her first appearance, and having that like, oh yeah, I suddenly have a daughter and no memories of raising her. That's
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, he does have the moment where he talks about like, couldn't she just be a normal teenager or whatever, right?
yeah.
She
Also,
because
quick
she's
note, just like
obviously it.
played by the same actress of Sonya Blade, and she's great.
Yes, I yeah, there's an alternate ending to this movie that doesn't exist that I think should exist, where Jack doesn't go back into the movie,
That's in the
right?
original script.
Is it okay? Yeah,
Yep.
because like there's a moment that like that classical music moment, right? And you can tell that Danny's mom and Jack are clearly vibing, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like that's your that's your ending.
Well,
Like
he
that's your
needs the
happy
father. So
ending.
the original script, the original ending is so all the stuff happens. The projectionist seems to have died. All
Yeah.
the henchmen have died. Jack Slater does get shot in the chest, and he like tries to claw his way back into the movie so he can survive. And the whole time Danny has been like fighting with his mom whether or not he goes to visit his father's grave. And he actually has
Mhm.
a conversation with Slater at one point, which is in a deleted scene. They did film it; they didn't put it in the movie. Of him just being like, "Yeah, like my dad died of cancer, and there's no way that I can like avenge him. Like, there's no vengeance, there's no one to hunt down, there's no one to blame. Like, it's just a tragic
Yeah.
thing." And Slater's just like, "Yeah, someone killed my dad. I killed them right back. Didn't help any. So we're about in the same boat."
Yeah, yeah.
And like
What you're yearning for isn't a thing that
so yeah, it's
exists.
the
Yeah.
original script ending.
God.
Danny at the end goes and visits his father's grave, and he's standing there and he's crying and he's with his mother, and then it just kind of cuts to like Slater walking back out of the movie theater and into the real world and kind of giving like a wink to the camera and walking off, and it's like, hey guys, the whiplash of emotional tone that you're doing right
Yeah.
now is
Yeah.
goddamn horrifying.
Yeah. In my personal headcanon, I Slater and Danny's mom absolutely did it.
Oh
They
yeah, which
they
okay, other thing, and again, not intentional from the film, just a thing, but
yeah.
like I really liked that Slater did not come with any body prejudice when he comes into the real world. There's no comments of like, oh, everyone looks different or is ugly.
Yeah,
Like it's just
yeah.
like he's like, hey, cool, people look different, and I'm 100% on board with that. Also, your mom kind of down. Like it's just
Yeah, yeah.
like you're used to all of these like supermodel stuff, and she's like still a very beautiful woman, but like a traditionally like attractive woman that's not
Yeah.
a supermodel level woman. And he's just like, 100%, I'm on board. I talked to her. We had a conversation. It
Yeah,
was
we were up we
amazing.
stayed up all night talking.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I yeah. Listen, this is the thing. This is a pretty good movie.
It's
This
got
is
its
like
moments. It's got
it,
its moments.
Schwarzenegger has some real
He's
great
got a good performance.
performance
He
moments in
really
this. Like
performs
it,
in this film.
yeah. And the self-awareness of it, right? Like I think that's probably the thing about this movie that is the frustration, right? Is that I think of the three guys, the powerhouses from the action genre that were involved in this, I think he's the only one that got it.
Yeah.
I think that McTiernan thought he got it but didn't really get it, and I think like that's where his regret is coming from, on like not pushing the satire further, not being willing to make fun
It
of
could have been
himself a little
broader.
bit
It could have
more.
been bigger. Yeah.
And I think that that is probably my guess, knowing Shane Black's oeuvre as I do, and the type of director that he is, based on, you know, what you hear about this guy and how he makes movies. I would bet that he was the element that came in and really like tamped that down. That was
Yep.
like, no, this is a real art form. I take this seriously. We're not making fun of that, right? Whereas I think like Schwarzenegger was really ready to be like, I am actually doing a send up of my own career in an attempt to
Yeah.
transition myself into proper leading man status and away from action hero status. I can do more stuff. Here's this great scene of me just being enamored with a woman, a normal lady, and enjoying some classical music, right? Like, and that is the one where you can see that like he puts everything he's got, all of the acting chops that he has, into that scene, right? Yeah, so I look at it and I go like that's the I think like that's the thing for me, is like he got it, and I just don't think that everybody else did necessarily.
It's an interesting thing for it. So one of, in my opinion, is the best parody films in the history of parody, in doing the job of being such a good parody that all the things it's parodying now seem funnier by comparison,
Yeah,
is Walk Hard, the story of Dewey Cox. It is such a perfect parody of like the super self-interested musician biopics, that
yeah,
everything before and after that movie, when contrasted with it, you're like, oh, you can see they got you dead to rights. They broke down every trope
yeah,
you're
yeah,
ever gonna use, and they put a big spotlight on it. And one of the things with this, of like him, Arnold, going around and like, oh hey, I said I'll be back, that's the line you want me to say, right? Ha ha ha, I said it. And then continuing his career and having to say it without the wink later
yeah.
is like, oh dude, that's such a bummer. like like oh, it's like
Yeah.
watching a clown do the same routine but you got normal size shoes on. It's just sad now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's the reality of like the fact that the next movie that he makes after this, I think, is True Lies, right?
Yeah.
And that is like the return to form. Like it's like, you know, you get T2 and then this, and then you're back at it with True Lies, which is probably his best film. I'd say probably. I think that's pretty
That's
safe
a
to
pretty
say that
solid
True
film.
Lies is probably Schwarzenegger's best
You're not
film.
gonna do Sixth Day? He's in it twice.
He is in it
He's in
twice.
it twice as much. So
But to that point, right? Like after True Lies, like certainly just in terms of box office, right? Like if we're just going to talk about like the success of his
which
career,
tees us up for next year's April Batman and Robin. But yeah, continue.
yeah, like True Lies is the last time that he really hits that pinnacle. And then everything after that, like he's got some good movies that come out and some successes and stuff like that. It's not as if his career just absolutely flatlines after that. Schwarzenegger obviously then ends up, you know, he works for quite a while longer and then becomes governor and then comes back to movies, and
Yeah, and
you
then
know
was
they
a
make
really
the
fun voice on an episode of Secret Level lately, so that was good.
so like he's had a good, there's peaks and valleys, but he's had a pretty solid career throughout his life, right?
Mhm.
um but I think that like
and
that
and
is,
and as being a famous man of power, probably a monster.
yeah, oh yeah,
Just gonna
absolutely,
put,
probably
just
probably.
as long as we're shining that apple, I'm just gonna
Uh,
say that
oh,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, success does not
nah,
denote like moral quality, right?
yeah,
like
just gonna hang a hat on that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, being successful at things doesn't make you a good person. Being a failure at things doesn't make you a bad person. Those are mutually
Sorry, I'm just
exclusive
looking at the
ideas.
whiplash of the films he did after this.
Yeah,
So it goes
right.
True Lies, then Junior,
Hmm.
then Eraser, then Jingle All the Way, then Batman and Robin, then End of Days, which I think also had Bill Hader on that one as like his PA. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
it's a bunch. There's a
So
bunch
then,
going on there.
yeah. So then, when he eventually returns to the role of the Terminator, right?
Yeah.
And has to you know, like you said, say the "I'll be back" line again, which he then ends up having to do multiple times, basically, as they keep pulling him back into that franchise over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I like that's just it's just this like I don't know. I think like an inclination to always want to recapture that thing, but it just ends
It's
up feeling
fascinating.
desperate, right? Like it yeah it
But what we're saying
I don't know.
is that the long story short is if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it in a while, the HD copy of Last Action Hero
Yeah.
available for digital download is an amazingly crisp print. It actually
It's
looks really, really good. Like it's surprising. Like it's a '93 movie and it looks better than most modern stuff coming out digitally available. It's kind of incredible.
yeah. I mean like that's just 90s film stock.
Yeah,
Like that's just
it just
1993
holds up.
film stock, man. And that's what I'm talking when I talk about like that sepia tone, like everything kind of had that like brown tint to it. There was something about the film stock
Well, also like this film has real
that first half of the
explosions.
decade.
The
Yeah.
boom booms are real. That feels
Yeah.
real good. They're using practical effects, except for the animated cat. Like it's real good. I did realize one thing, and this is what I'm going to use to try to take us in for a landing. If you want me to take us in for a landing, an hour and a half into us talking about
I think
Last
it's
Action
time. Yeah, I
Hero.
think it's time. I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you handle it.
So Jurassic Park is one of the leading reasons, besides the terrible test audience and reshoots and other stuff. Because again,
Yeah.
it aged better than when it came out. It's a better film now than the day it came out.
Mhm.
But it was taken down by Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So many, many years later, I would say, let's just do some math here. Oh, what's 2013 after 1993? That's 20 years. 20 years later, the star of Last Action Hero is in a film with the star of Jurassic Park. And that film is called The Escape Plan. This has both Schwarzenegger and Sam Neill in it.
Mhm.
And that film has a scene where Sam Neill, as a doctor, has to open up a book. And at the front of the book is like the morality pledge of the doctor. Of like he has to look up. It's like, oh, do no harm. Okay. And he closes the book, and that's what helps him make a decision to help out Arnold. So I just want to say 20 years later, the two of them finally came together, and we can agree that that movie was genuinely terrible.
Yes. Yes.
So
Genuinely
you can
terrible.
take these two people that were battling out in '93 and box
Yeah.
office bang, and like 20 years later, don't worry, you will eventually pay for your sins, Sam Neill, and you will be forced to be a third tier character below Arnold and have one of the dumbest character decisions I've ever seen in a film. And I just wanted people to know that The Escape Plan is a terrible, terrible film. And if you worked on that movie, any movie that gets made and released is a small miracle, and I'm hopefully you got paid, and I'm glad you had a good time. It's a bad movie. It's a bad, bad
I
movie.
I mean like listen, that is the thing about art, right? It's in the trying
Yeah.
that you know you find success. That like that it has to be. That has to be your perspective as an artist. It's like it's in the doing of the thing. The simple fact that you did it and nobody else did, right? A thing did not exist and then you made it exist. And yeah, it might suck. But how many people can say they made a bad movie,
Yeah.
right? Like most people can't say they've made any kind of movie. So if you've made any kind of movie, this is I saw Uwe Boll speak in
Oh,
person
I can't believe this
at
is where we've ended up.
PAX
Yeah.
at Penny Arcade Expo in I guess that would have been '07, I think was that one. Um and when sort of like pressed on the like, but you make these movies and they are widely regarded as bad movies, right? And but yet you keep making movies. Why, right? And his response to that was, I keep making movies. I love making movies. I get to keep making movies. So I go to this country because they have tax breaks, they have incentives. I get these grants. I go and I make movies and I get to because I do it and nobody else does. And other people can say whatever they want to say about my movies. I don't care. I get to make movies for a living and I'm quite rich.
Yeah.
Was like the button that he put on it, is that like not only does he get to like, yeah, he goes and he makes bad movies, but enough people go to see those bad movies that he is a very wealthy man. Also total monster, but like gets to make those movies. And that was such a lesson for me. I was in my early 20s, and it was just like, wow, yeah, that really is a thing, huh? Like you just like it is. That's why I say like it's like the act of doing. So like any movie that gets made is a miracle, as you say, right?
Hmm. A
All of these
series of
human,
miracles, like
yeah,
several miracles all in a row, packed up next to each other.
yeah, all of these human beings collaborating towards hopefully a single vision, an end. And you know, like, yeah, what comes out is sometimes I like the greatest work of art, and sometimes is quite literally the opposite. Um, but yeah, I respect anybody who does it. I
Yep.
respect anybody who does it because I've never done it.
No.
I've made some like crappy student films. But nobody saw those, and they certainly didn't make me any money. They cost quite a bit. It took me, decades to pay them off. So yeah, like I admire anybody who makes anything that stands the test of time, whether it's for good or bad reasons. You've
Which
left a mark.
means that really every film is a perfect 10 just for coming out.
There you
That's what
go.
that's what your main message is. Hey, so it's $19.99 plus $23 shipping to get a Skull Attack Jack figure sealed on card. Please stop me.
uh yeah. I mean, like, listen, I is it a sound financial investment?
No.
No. Is it good for your mental health? I think probably.
Yeah, I mean it's
I think
pretty
probably
good.
because every time I know you, and I know that every time you look at that action figure, you are gonna smile.
Mm, I'll sleep on it. I'll
Yeah,
sleep
I
on it.
think I think that's a good idea. I think that's always sound
But
advice.
at home,
But
please look up the 1993 Mattel Last Action Hero figure Skull Jack Attack stunt figure sealed new, and
yeah,
you'll be able to see the place has 100% positive reviews, so you know you're getting a good product.
yeah, I think you're pretty safe. I think it's safe to do the eBay thing these days. I awesome. Well, listen, a great episode as always. It is
If
always
you
such a joy
insist.
having you on. I I I would say that this podcast episode is equally as entertaining as the film itself, and that's always
Well, we'll
for
take that.
me the aim
Which is to say, a
and
good 20 minutes of it could have been
yeah.
cut out without anyone noticing.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, the third act is kind of a little bit uneven,
It
but
gets
that's all
sweaty.
right.
Yeah.
Uh I where can people find you on
Oh,
the internet,
jeez.
Mr. Nickel?
If
If
you
they
got
if
to,
they
if
so
they got
choose.
to, yeah,
They got
you can
to.
find me at Dork Zombie, DORK Zombie on the Instagrams. I'm over there, and I guess that's fine. I think I'm on Blue Sky as well. I'm not on Twitter. Um, I'm on TikTok as Mr. Nickel. Yeah, I'm around. I do things. I'm at places. And if you see me in public, I will have a panic attack if you recognize me, and I will immediately forget your name. I try not to, but it just falls right out, and I feel real bad every time.
Yeah. Listen, I did a convention this past weekend. Had my art at a table selling people silly nonsense. The people next to me, I introduced myself, they introduced themselves, and I walked away and was like,
Yeah, it's
didn't even
gone.
listen.
No.
Didn't even listen. Like not out of like rudeness or anything, just incapable.
Yeah.
Brain incapable of listen to name.
Selling art though,
I
that sounds nice. What kinds of products and services with your art on it could I get and then put into the world? That sounds fun. I would like to participate in that.
Well, hey, listen, it is April 1st on the release date, the published date of this
Yeah.
episode. So if you are listening to this on the release date, you still have at least 24 hours, a
Oh
little
wow.
bit over 24
We
hours
tight.
left.
We tight.
Yeah, to go to stillfleet.com/enter to get a copy of Enter the Nostalgiatron, my 64-page uh, complete tabletop role-playing game experience. You get the core rules for Still Fleet, 4 pre-generated characters based on the personalities of the Ninja Turtles, but don't tell anybody who has
It's
the
the
rights
4
to those
humors.
characters.
It's the Ghostbusters. It's the Golden
Yeah.
Girls. It's the Ninja Turtles. It's just fine. It's just public domain.
Yeah, absolutely. And a complete adventure, including 8 action figure and Saturday morning cartoon inspired play sets
Wow.
for you to adventure through. Yeah, I mean, like, you'll get it. It's your last chance to get it for probably the cheapest it'll be on its own. There might be bundles and stuff in the future with other Still Fleet products where you get it for cheap, but in terms of like on release and all of that sort of thing, it's the cheapest it's going to be. If you missed it, you're gonna have to pay full retail, man. And
that's
who
why
wants
you got to
do that
listen
in
to
this
these
day and age?
podcasts day one. This is an important
Exactly.
lesson. An hour and a half into this podcast, I'm glad that all of that came up so naturally in our conversation.
Absolutely.
Now I know.
The audience that listens to this podcast regularly and on day one has already heard me talk about this ad nauseum. But and also I know which of you have backed.
Oh.
And I thank you, because you're awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, I knew before we even launched who those people would be, because they are the diehards. They're the people that roll with me wherever I go, whatever stupid nonsense I'm up to these days. But I will also say, if you go to archangelwolf.com and you follow the link to my store, Archangel with a K and Wolf with a U, by the way. But if you go to Archangel, I should buy the other, like the alternative of the URL just in case. That's just an idea that I'm having now. I should go do that. But if you go to my store now, not now as of us recording the episode, but as of the release of the episode, you'll be able to get some very cool acrylic shaker charms that I made that are inspired by something else awesome from the mid-90s, the Power of the Force Star Wars action figure line. So
well, there was like Beefy Luke, Big Beefy Luke.
Yep, and that is absolutely one of the options. Big Beefy Luke, Big Beefy Vader, I somewhat beefy but hidden by his Bespin jacket Han Solo, but let's round it out, Big Beefy Slave Leia. Because
I heard Beefy Luke could not fit on his own land speeder because he just was like too much meat,
too jacked, too swole.
It was amazing.
The proportions of Joe Rogan, like it. Unbelievable. So go check that out, and of course, you guys know, follow me on all of the social medias where I post all sorts of nonsense. Just look for Archangel Wolf, you guys will find me. That's it though. Thanks for listening to Thunderquack Perfect 10. You can join the conversation on our Discord server over at thunderquack.com/Discord. And if you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast service and leave a rating and a review. Until next time, remember, it's not about the score, it's about the love. Stay frosty. Thunderquack Perfect 10 is hosted by me, Michael Cohen. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TQPerfect10, and join the community at thunderquack.com/Discord. This podcast is supported by listeners just like you over at patreon.com/Thunderquack. Head over there to get early access to episodes, exclusive podcasts, and more. This show is a part of the Thunderquack Podcast Network. Head over to thunderquack.com for more great shows. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.